wanted to build a website for a while. But you know, when you're not really passionate about something, it's much easier to procrastinate and not really be interested in it. And since I've figured out the direction I'm going to be going in, I feel like I have tremendous momentum underneath me. And so I was really curious to see and learn from what Christina's learned so that hopefully I can move forward even faster than I would have on my own. So so I'm going to be going into, I'm experimenting with and now moving into the specialty of finance coaching, where I've been kind of dabbling in health coaching for a long time and kind of waiting for somebody else's business to get up so that I could work with this other person, and recognizing that as a hobby, I kind of do finance. It's strange that finances would be somebody's hobby, but they are. And I've been really interested in understanding how the practices of health coaching fit into finances. And the more I've just been personally dabbling in this area, the more I've actually had people start to approach me who know that I do this and ask if this is an area that they can hire me for help in. And I thought that, okay, this is really interesting. I shouldn't ignore this. So I've really decided to explore this area. And so I bought my domain name last week, and I'm going to start building my website soon. So
yay. Thank you for sharing that, Lisa.
You're welcome.
I think that the questions we're going to ask during this little class are going to be really helpful to kind of get your gears grinding and get you to feel like this is more real. This is like this can happen, and something that you could probably get started and have something kind of tangible even by the end of the week.
Well, that's interesting because I'm actually my first potential client I'm meeting with at the end of the week. So,
wow. Okay.
Yeah. So I have like no time to waste.
Well, so like I was telling Lisa, even though there are about 20 people registered for this class, I'm sure a lot of people are going to catch the replay. But for those of you who are showing up live, I wanted to give an opportunity for you to introduce yourself and talk about a little bit about some ideas you've been having, a business you currently have, or like what your interest is in creating a website for yourself. So it's just like Lisa. I mean, if you were looking for someone to help you with some financial coaching, there's Lisa there, and there could be something you're excited about doing that someone else is looking for right now. So it's just an opportunity to kind of, introduce yourself to more people who are also starting their budding new websites. And so, Anita, is there something that you'd like to share, or what is your, can you introduce yourself and kind of explain what your interest is in building a website?
Well, Christina and others, I'm, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
I don't have the video online. I've been talking about doing a website for years now, but then I didn't really want to do the work that was involved with it. And again, like Lisa said, part of it was, I have to be passionate about something. Well, I'm kind of driven now. I have to move some things, and I don't know quite where to start on actually creating, or what it would even really look like. I can kind of see it in my mind. I was really reluctant to even, because then for me, it was getting everything set up for payments, and is that sales tax, and is there shipping, and how do you communicate? And I can either probably try using someone else's forum that's already been created and hop onto that. But at the same time, maybe I need to do my own. I don't know.
And what kind of business are you interested
Well, I want and need to move my crystals.
Oh, okay. So
And
you're thinking maybe a beautiful website where you could actually
yes,
a crystal shop.
Yes, and I have a friend who offered to do the photography for me, and so I just, I need to kind of take advantage of that.
Yeah. Oh, that's exciting on a personal level. That's exciting.
Well, I've got 100 reasons why I don't want to do this,
Yeah.
But I need to do this.
Yeah.
So let's explore this and see if it's something I can use, or like I said, maybe hop into somebody else's web that they already offer, you know, the
Yeah.
stones and crystals, and let them do the part of the work. We'll see.
Okay, thank you for sharing that.
Hmm.
Irma, woo,
Hello, I'm sorry.
hold on just a second.
I couldn't take a break, but I will be listening if that's okay with you. But because I had to, where I work, I had to do payroll today.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
I am working on that. But if it's fine with you, I will be just listening for today, and I will contact you right after that, Christina.
Okay, perfect. Well then, since it was just the four of us that showed up for the live, that's perfectly fine. We're gonna go ahead and get right into it so that we can, but thank you so much for sharing, because it gave me a little bit of a, I'm just gonna thank you very much. All right, I'm gonna share my screen now, and I'm going to share with you some of the things that I feel will be very beneficial moving forward. And I'm going to ask, could each of you mute yourselves so that as we're recording this, we don't hear the extra background sounds? Thank you.
Mine isn't. How do I do? Where's it at? Hold on.
Here we go. Let's see. Oh, I think you're all muted now. Thank you. Okay. So here's the thing. You're all thinking about it. You're thinking about, like, maybe if I just had enough passion, I would be able to do this. And this goes back to some of the astrological research that I've been doing, in the fact that there are a lot of people that are in my personal circle, and maybe since you've been attracted to this class through my Facebook page, you might be one of these people where when you're doing it for yourself, you in some ways lack some of the motivation and the passion and the fire that it would take for you to fully put your energy into something and get it off the ground. And a lot of times, for those of us that are less motivated for ourselves, it takes a high level of discomfort or pain to push us into creating change. So we end up only creating change when we absolutely have to. And that is something that is part of my mission that I seek to grow past, and to share with others that they're capable of going past that too. And what I found is the big motivating factor for me is when I think about other people. When I actually put myself in a state where I'm thinking about the people that I will serve, and I'm thinking about the problems that I could solve, and the pitfalls that people like me fall into, that I can help them kind of like, you know, I could put a hand and be like, hey, come on, let's do this thing. Because I really do strongly feel that we're all building this new world together, that we all have special gifts. And I believe that, you know, even though the website is a symbol, you know, it's like this tangible thing that we can build for like this e-commerce, I actually feel like it's a way for us to get ourselves on this page of creating the new world, on this page of creating the next level. And if you're not going to have the passion and charisma and excitement to do it for yourself, and if you don't want to wait for pain to kick you in the ass so you have to do it, then the next step would be to think about what actually does motivate you. And I have some questions for you that will help you to start thinking about those people that will be so served by you stepping into creating your own space. So this is a series of questions. Here, I'm going to move these. I'm just going to move these pictures up here because there we go. There we go. This is a series of questions that you can ask yourself whenever you're considering a big change or a big move, or you're trying to motivate yourself to do something. And it's a very this series of questions, it actually runs through your entire chakra system. So you can feel these tangibly. The first question is going to start with your base chakra, and it's going to move all the way up. But for your website and for the situation of moving from where you are now to potentially creating a website this week, you want to ask yourself first, what is actually happening right now? Take stock of what is right now. Like what's literally happening. Do you actually have a website right now? Do you like it? Do you not have a website? Have you been waiting to create a website until X, Y, and Z happens? Like, ask yourself that serious question. And we're not going to take a ton of time with these because I have a lot I want to cover in this hour. But really jot that down and ask yourself that. And then how are your needs being met right now? Or how are they not being met by your current situation? Like, this is a really great question to ask yourself anytime you're trying to motivate yourself for change. Get true, tangible feelings about how your needs are being met or not met by your current situation. And that will help you get leverage and kind of initiate a little bit of that personal pain that will push you into that motivation. And what stories or beliefs do you have about your current situation, and about your current situation and how it can change. So this question is like, do you have the belief that making a website is hard? That it's going to be complicated, that there's too many steps involved, that what if I put all this energy into creating my website and I don't do anything with it because I never follow through with these things? These are the stories that you want to be like, bring to your awareness, and don't lie to yourself. If you have a belief in there that says that you'll probably not follow through with it and it's just a waste of time and money, write it down, because this is a real tangible story or belief that you're telling yourself, not only about this website, but probably about other places in your life as well. And so you can use this website as sort of a microcosm of all the other amazing things you'd like to build in your world, all the other amazing changes you'd like to see. So once you get your stories down and you're really honest with yourself about what those are, what would you like to experience instead? And how would it look and feel? So how would your website operate? Do you see people buying crystals from your website, waking up in the morning and looking at your app and seeing that 4 crystals were sold and you've got to go to the post office because you're going to be sending crystals to all over the world? Do you want to see people making appointments with you for your finance coaching? Do you want to wake up and be like, oh, so-and-so made an appointment for today. I have a 45-minute call with someone to discover whether or not they want to work with me to get their finances in order. Like, so you start thinking about the exciting things that will happen once this website is functioning. And this will also help you kind of get to, like, a lot of us don't take the time to think, how do I actually want this website to function? So many people think that a website is a place to collect your data. It's like a glorified white pages or yellow pages. And websites are capable of so much more than being the yellow pages for the internet. Like, we think, oh, maybe they'll just look up, past life regression and magically I'll show up at the top search and then they'll click on me and they'll read about me and then they'll hire me. Well, you know what? Websites are a little bit different than that these days, and there's a lot more that it can do in the area of relationship building and speaking to the frequency and vibration of the business that you're running. And people are very keen to that these days. And so keeping that in mind is very, very important. We have very smart, savvy, keen internet shoppers these days. You are one of them. So you know what I'm talking about. When a website doesn't feel like it's vibrating and resonating, we're less likely to hang out there and want to know who's running it. And so this part of this question is really about you imagining how you want that website to be experienced by the end user, by the person who will visit it. So then what actions can you take now to make this happen? And I hope by the end of this class, you are clear on a couple of actions you can take, whether that is journaling about these questions and getting them clear. That could be going to sign on to Squarespace and creating your accounts, whatever that looks like for you, I hope that by the end of this call or this class, you will commit to a couple of action steps that you can make. And the last question for this series of questions is, how will all these actions impact other people? And I don't just mean your clients. How will you creating your website and having it function properly and serving people, how will it affect your family? How will it affect your life? How will it affect the nature of how you spend your time? Maybe suddenly you're spending your time meeting with clients all day instead of thinking about making a website. So there's a lot of ways you can think about how this will impact others that goes beyond just the customers that you will serve. And so this next series of questions is kind of long, and I will go through them, but I want to tell you, this is usually what I do. When I'm getting ready to create a website for someone, I go to their house and I ask them the questions that I just asked you, and I record it. I'll record it over Zoom or record it over voice recorder. And I just let them speak. And then we move into these series of questions. And this series of questions is very important to answer before you start choosing your template and before you just dive into it, because eventually you're going to have to ask them anyway. And if you know the answers to these before you choose your template, then when you get in there and you're creating, you won't lose your momentum, because what happens is we get in there and we get excited, and then we have no freaking idea what we're going to put in there. Like, what's the verbiage? What are we going to say? What's our headline? Like, what's the name of our website? Like, how, like, what? I don't know, and then once that happens, we lose our momentum and we do give up on ourselves. And then we have another reason why we should never try to start creative projects. And it's so self-defeating. And that cycle has repeated so many times in our lives. The reason I'm doing this is because this series of questions will help you to feel excited and actually follow through. So ask yourself, what outcomes do you help people experience? Like if you're selling crystals, or you're doing finance coaching, or anything else that you want your website for, these people right now, they're in a situation where they're desiring something. They're like, to be honest, business is about solving problems. There's a desire and we fill the need. And when we fill the need, they deliver value to us. And that's the way business works. So there's a desire that people who will visit your website have. Maybe it's to feel more financially secure. What are they like? If they're buying crystals, maybe they're in this mode of collecting as much crystal wisdom as possible right now. If they're in the mode of purchasing things, these are the people that are up in the middle of the night browsing, looking for something. Give me a sign. And so you could think, what is your client up in the middle of the night thinking about? What are they stress rolling around in bed thinking about? And that's the problem. And it's not, the problem's name isn't financial insecurity. The problem's name is, how am I going to figure this out? Like, how am I going to figure this out? Or I just need some help. Or I don't know what to do. Like, I just need something beautiful in my life to help me with this transition. And so even I know crystals have so many qualities. So even that, I'm glad we have this range. But be asking yourself that and really think of them, because their desire, they're out there already. They're out there in the middle of the night crying. They're out there already, like, seeking what you have. What you're seeking is already seeking you. So imagine them. And then the next question is, who would you love to work with? Who are these people? What are their qualities? Maybe they're collectors. Maybe they're young families. Maybe they're trying to buy a house. Whatever your niche is and whatever problem you solve, think of the ideal people that you would like to serve and imagine who they are. Like, it makes it more tangible. Like, you're actually creating something for someone. And so you ask them, what are they struggling with? What are the pains they're experiencing? And then on the converse, this is an equally important question. Who is your work not for? who is like, this is not for like you. The reason why this is an important question is because the way you phrase your languaging, the way you phrase your headline, and the energy you put into your website is going to attract certain people and push away others. And it's perfectly good to want to push away certain individuals. We have this thing about like all oneness and everyone's welcome and all this, but the thing is, there are probably things that you're not wanting to attract. Maybe you're not wanting to attract people who are trying to take advantage of you. You know, maybe you're trying not to attract. I can't. What would I? Okay, so I had a client who she was her website is going to reach people who she's a sexological therapist. She wants to help people with sexual trauma. And at first she was like, I want to help everyone who has this issue. And I'm like, okay, maybe you do, but maybe there's a spectrum of people that perhaps the care they need immediately is something else. Like perhaps they really need to see a doctor first. Maybe they're in they have a health situation that needs to be corrected before they work with you. And so this is not for people maybe who are suicidal. Maybe this is not for people who, still are at this stage of their journey, because you want to serve people at this stage of their journey. So getting specific about that. And when we really leaned into it, she was looking at the trajectory of healing, and she actually realized that the people she wanted to work with most are the people who are optimizing their lives, who are already kind of far along the path, who are simply optimizing their happiness rather than coming out of trauma. And this is a distinction that you can be clear about. You are making this up yourself. So decide who it is and don't worry about being picky. The more specific you can be, the more clearly you will reach the people you're trying to reach. And that is so important, and that sets the tone for the whole way your website will feel and who will be attracted to it. What does the process of your work look like? If you're selling something, does the process look like people arrive on your website and they can click and purchase right then? Does it look like they receive a newsletter, or does it look like they book a 30-minute free call with you? Is the process that they see you on Facebook or Instagram and they're directed to your website for more information? So be asking yourself what that process will look like and what that first interaction will be like for them. These are all things to think about. What does success look like for the individual who comes to your website? Is their successful experience being able to know with certainty that once they click on the thing that an appointment will be made with you, or that a crystal will be purchased and shipped to them? Do they need a confirmation email after? Like getting real clear on the end user's experience and what the success of that experience will look like will help you know what your website's end game will be also. There's more questions here. You can look through these questions and ask yourself these, like the next question. Well, so there's more like emotional questions to ask about the process of working with your client. But some other more technical things you need to know before you get started is what's your contact information? Are you going to have your business run out of your house? Are you going to have an address, a email, a phone number? Like, how will your clients contact you? Are you going to have a Calendly link so that people can book something with you? Or would you prefer people to only email you? And if you're going to do an email, what if you created a brand new email address that was based on your website? So for me, when I created Lunation Live or lunation.live, I decided to create lunation.live@gmail.com. And I actually created from that Gmail, I created a YouTube station, I created Instagram, and I created some other things too, because I knew that I was going to create this brand completely. And Gmail actually has a great way of kind of making everything cohesive. So if you're going to, if you already know what your domain name is going to be, or if you have a good idea of what it's going to be, make sure you kind of have those pieces in place in the beginning, maybe even before you start with Squarespace, so that you can use that email as your login. And that way all of that business will go to that email address. And then, do you plan to have a Facebook page, Instagram, thinking of these social media things? Sometimes we think, no, I don't need those things. But I'll tell you what, like, this is a relationship world, and all business is relationships. And so considering starting a whole new persona and a whole new presence with your website might be a great idea. And considering, having a presence in those social media outlets. Also, are you planning to have a blog? Would it be helpful for your client to read a little bit about what you're about? And do you have helpful articles and tips for your clients? The good thing about having a blog is that if you put a blog on your main page, then your website will constantly be refreshing. And the search engines love websites that are constantly changing. They love websites that have something new showing up. And having a blog on the front of your website makes it seem more active instead of a static site that will just get lower and lower and lower on the search engine optimizer. And so thinking of a blog would be a good idea, or at least having Instagram, if you're busy there, fed onto your main page, which I can show you different templates that give you that option. Okay, so from here, I'm going to go ahead and open up, cancel. I'm going to go ahead and open up the format for Squarespace. So when you're logging into Squarespace, you can just go to Squarespace/login, squarespace.com/login. And let me move all these over here now. When I log into Squarespace, I already have a dashboard back here. And when you log into Squarespace, it'll just ask you to create a profile. And but when you've already created a few websites, you'll have a dashboard like this. But when you first get started, you're going to go ahead and just click Create Site. So when you first get in there, before you even have to choose a domain or anything, you're going to be given the opportunity to choose your templates. And the reason why I had you kind of go over all those questions is because there's a lot of templates to choose from. And if you're clear that, okay, I would like my website to be highlighting the services that I provide, and I want them to know a little bit about, I want to reach people who, let's for instance use my client who's the sexological therapist. Okay, this is kind of a tricky, taboo kind of thing. And so she wants to make sure her website has a very professional look. She wants to reach people who are at a mature state of their journey, their spiritual journey, and she wants to have a blog. She wants to have an Instagram. She's got sacred dance involved. She's also involved with constellation work. And so she has a few extra services that she provides. So we know that her main page, we want it to look very professional and classy. We want it to look inviting. We want it to talk about her as a person, and we also want to speak directly to the women that she'd like to reach. And in fact, she wants to reach both men and women in a very specific demographic. So we helped her really dial down where her demographic is and who she's marketing to specifically so that we could speak to them. So we ended up choosing, I actually have a few favorites. Oh, for some reason, my favorites aren't showing up here right now. Well, that's irritating. I had a few favorites, but I'll just go ahead and find them. Okay, so Mojave is a really nice template. So we can just take a look at this one, and you can choose preview on any of these. So when you hit preview, it'll bring up kind of the layout of it. And so, as you know, all of the pictures you can change. this would be an area where you'd have maybe the message that you would directly speak to your client about. Like, for instance, you could have I am the voice for the earth, or, you know, I'm taking you to the next level through sacred sexual practices, or something like that. You know, if she wants to, she hasn't come up with her exact tagline yet, but we're getting close. So here you have this scrollable, you have this scrollable website. You can tell there's going to be a chunk here, and then there's an opportunity to put like 4 separate little things. All of these templates are movable, but it's wonderful to find one that you can you have an idea of what you want your website to actually look like at the end. And so you're like, oh, okay, well, if I have something like this, I can have a button here that says, book a free call right now. And then this button will go to book the free call. And then this one is to learn more about what I'm doing, and that will go to another page. So you're like, okay, those buttons might work. You know, so if we go back, you're basically like utilizing the outline that you've already created from answering those questions to help you get clear on whether or not these templates will work for you. For instance, if you want to have a blog on your main page, this is a great website. This is Rally. I actually use this one for my website. And the beautiful thing about this one is that it allows you to have features that you can tag in different ways. And I'll go into my website in a moment and show you how tags work. That gets a little bit more, this class, the scope of it isn't necessarily to get you completely done with your website, but it is to show you, like, this isn't as hard and daunting as you might consider it to be. So for these are all going to be different featured posts in your blog. So you would have 4 different things that, in fact, here, let me just go. I'm just going to go to mine to show you specifically. This is when you first choose your template and you commit to something, it'll look just like the template that you see over in the pick your template area, and then everything's interchangeable. Like, they have fake verbiage, they have fake pictures, and you can click on any of them to change them. But this is what it'll look like. I move into Pages, and from Pages I can edit any of this stuff. So you can see as I'm scrolling, these little boxes appear over everything I'm scrolling. So if I wanted to edit the content here, I could edit the banner. If I wanted to edit the verbiage that's happening here, I could click edit. And when you click edit, the screen changes, it gets wider, and it allows you to operate within the area that you're editing. So let's say I want to edit the text here. I could just click the text and edit it. Let's say I want to edit this button. This button right now is leading to a Vimeo. So I just click edit the button. I can edit the words that's in the button. I can edit the video that's in the button, and I can decide how big I want the text. So when you get into it and you start playing around, all you have to do, and then always save, all you have to do is click on whatever you want to edit and then just change it right there. There's no, like, it's in WordPress or whatever, you actually go to a whole nother place where you edit your website. Here in Squarespace, whatever you want to edit, you just click it and you're welcome to move right into editing it right away. So this block is called a summary. When I go into it, I can edit which tag I want the blog post to come from, and it's kind of, so maybe I should show you a little bit in the blog. Is this helping? Does this seem like Here, I'm gonna unmute Lisa for a second. Lisa, when I'm moving through here, are you kind of seeing what I'm doing and like how you would edit something?
Yeah, I'm also, familiar with editing and backends of websites with a little bit with Squarespace, but mostly with WordPress. So it's really interesting to me to see how Squarespace does it opposed to WordPress, because that was one of the reasons I wanted to take this course, was actually figure out which hosting or which platform I was going to be using. So I think that is really helpful, because in WordPress it's much different. And one of the biggest challenges I actually find in WordPress is remembering, like, okay, where do I have to go to find the pages, to figure out like where I need to go to edit something. So this is really interesting.
Yeah, so I'm going to show you a little bit on so right now, the way this blog is set up, all of this content is just blog content, all of it, just using different tags. And this is my this website's really content heavy. So I'm actually going to go to another website.
I do have a question. You were about to show us how to edit a blog.
Yeah.
So what you were just doing, you were just editing the content that you could see, right? Like your titles and how things are set up. You could edit pictures from that page. Where would you go if you actually want to edit the content in one of the blogs?
Okay, so I'm going to go to the Lunascope blog. And actually, I'm going to scroll here. So I call my blog Lunations blog. And the Lunations blog is a blog for everything. So so I have one big blog that has all of my content in it. But this Lunations blog is not accessible from my menu. In fact, on my menu, I only have the tag Lunascopes accessible. And I have a page that holds all of the Lunascope content, so that it doesn't show any of the other things like my resources or anything else. So let's say I'm going to, okay, I'm going to go ahead and this one here, New Moon Eclipse in Cancer. I'm going to go ahead and edit this post. So I was back on here. I found in this sidebar the page that's holding my blog. And I have a lot of pages here. I just scroll over the post I want to edit. And for this post, I put in the title. If I want to add a picture, anytime you see these little bubbles, this is an opportunity to add something. So I can add an image, text, a quote. I can add a gallery if I want to, appointment scheduling. These are all the different things you could add. I could put a SoundCloud app in there, my Instagram, anything I want to add. And so anytime you see these little bubbles and the length of the bubble of the length of the thing here, that's going to be how long it will be too. Because sometimes you can do halves. So these bubbles give me opportunities to add things in between if I want to. If I want to change any of this, I can. And then here at the bottom, these tags are more for search engine optimization. So if someone is searching the Cancer eclipse new moon on the internet, my post could show up. So that's how tags work. For categories is what actually separate things on my blog. So I have several categories here. This is how many categories I'm using on my blog. I've got Lunascopes, which is my public blog. I have resources, which would be information about scar tissue, information about astrology that's maybe not even mine. It would be like any resource that I believe my blog users would want to access. I have retreats. So I have a whole section that's like, these are the retreats that I'm involved in now. Temple activation has to do with classes that I'm teaching, testimonials, obviously, and then workshops, which are different from retreats in some ways. So that's what I've established. And so for you or for anyone building a site, you might think, well, what are the categories or the categories for my website? Do I have sacred dance? Do I have, workshops, classes I teach? Like, what are all your categories? Because this is going to help you to know how you're going to separate out your content. So I'm not going to change that, but here, if you choose options, this is where I can choose a featured image. And then if I want this post to show up on my head, above my header, like a featured post, I can click here, and that will make that post highlighted up there. And whatever whatever category I put, it will change where this post shows up. Because I have places designated to it. And even though this sounds complicated, really, once you get in here, it kind of is revealed to you. It's like, oh, okay, the name of this category is fashion. I'm going to change the name of that category to be classes.
Okay.
Because the way Squarespace works is it has all of the content loaded into these websites already, and all the pages are built. And so what you're essentially doing is deciding what your content is first. And then once you're clear about that and you move into this space, you just change everything to fit what you are. And sometimes it's helpful to like get in there and use a template, but sometimes it's super overwhelming and you're like, I don't have a newspaper. What do I do? Well, maybe you don't have a newspaper, but maybe you have a newsletter, like something monthly that you want to create.
So can you show us where the categories are created at?
Yes, they're created right here. So, okay, so if I could just add a category. Oh wait, hold on. Am I editing? I don't know. For some reason, that didn't work.
Well, are the categories, I guess I imagine the categories were in a different area. I guess what I'm asking is, I'm guessing before you created Lunascopes, you knew that there was a category somewhere that those were going into and where that your user could find that category.
Well, yeah, so let's go back to the pages. So, okay. So on my main page, when I first got here, this right here, categories, this was fashion.
I see, okay.
Category was something else. So here under categories, we can edit. And so now I can change the name of this category.
Okay. Now, if you change the name of that category, say you decided you wanted to call it something else, but you wanted to keep all of the things that are tagged or as categorized as Lunascopes, would that change that category for all those, do you know?
I haven't actually done that. You could play around with it, but
yeah, I guess that's a silly question because it's probably unlikely somebody would do that. But I was just curious.
When I first moved through and I like deleted all these and just made them my own, I just systematically went through it and changed it to what I want it to be. And then when I went into edit the posts, I believe the categories were there. I think that's why I couldn't add it. So I could mess around with it, but this is part of it. So part of the reason why I'm doing this right now is to show you that when you're creating your own site, you can just get in there and play around with it. Like, let it be playful. Let it be something that you're not going to feel daunted. You're not going to get stuck in the headlights. You're not going to stop the process because you're afraid you're going to mess something up. All of it is changeable. You don't have to save any of it. If you mess something up, you just don't save. And if everything you just didn't save, and So the purpose of me moving around through here, it's not necessarily for like these technical things. It's more to show you like all of this stuff is so changeable and movable. Like here's a website that I'm working on for someone, and this is the template that we're changing for her. And I chose it because it's got this really bold thing on the top, this really bold picture. That's her picture.
Okay.
But then it's got this short little like description. So this is the description she's going to share with her clients.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's going to be a picture of like what it is to work with her, and there's a few. So workshops and demos. So this is going to be an area where we talk about like how people generally began working with her and like what their story is. And then we're going to have some pictures here. She does sacred ecstatic dance. So we're going to have all of the different things that she does with a picture. And then when you click on it, it's going to go to a separate page. So each of these pictures will be opening to another page.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to move this button. The schedule button is actually going to be up here, so that the client can click schedule right here.
Mm-hmm.
So this, I just thought this website would really, really serve her for what she's doing.
Mm-hmm.
And she has a specific location she wants to serve. You can choose maps on any of these websites, and it's one of those little bubbles that I was showing you. And then of course on the bottom you can link to all of your social media. So like,
I have a specific question too about pictures and video.
okay.
So like I've always been really impressed with it seems like somehow and I have an experience in using graphics programs, but I don't really feel like I want to pay for the Adobe Creative Suite anymore and like hand create these specifically sized pictures. So I'm wondering where and how you're creating your images, and if Squarespace gives you specific sizing that you need to make certain images.
I haven't had any trouble with that at all.
Okay.
So Squarespace automatically reformats your pictures to fit perfectly into their spaces. Even when I've done galleries, the pictures, they just kind of like, I'll have like a sliding gallery, and some pictures will be square, some will be long, and it just reformats to accommodate whatever size photograph you're putting in there, and it runs smoothly. The most important thing is is it high quality? Is it a good quality image? And so if I'm trying to load an image that's too big or too small, it'll say, no, this is not the right size. But it doesn't matter what size it is this way. It's more the pixels, like what's the quality of the photo that you're using.
Yeah.
So the way I created these, I have a Tumblr site, and I resource back to Tumblr. Because sometimes the artists are mentioned on Tumblr and sometimes they're not. And so whenever I was doing these Lunoscopes, I would choose a Tumblr picture that I appreciated, and I would save the name of the picture in the picture, and then I'd bring it over to Canva.
Okay.
So I created images like this in Canva. And Canva is a free, Canva, C-A-N-V-A, it's a free image editing site where you could use it. I mean, window. It's canva.com. You just go there and you can create a whole host of different images. You can just choose these templates. You put in your own images, and this is great. And from this Canva thing, you can also like choose different sizes that you'd want. Like if you want a poster, a print, a desktop wallpaper, this would all kind of format your images for you.
Wow, that's fantastic. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's free. I mean, there are some things you can pay for, but see, so I've used it for several different little projects, and usually I just re-edit the same one over and over. I just have a place where I load images in, and we use the same template, and It's really easy. But Squarespace will like automatically reformat your images for you so that they're the right size. Another thing that's really cool is not design. Settings. Over here, you can, oh wait, no, that's not where it is. Hold on. You can actually create a logo with Squarespace. Site title. So here, when you go to site title on the main screen, you click on it, you can put all this in, you can add a logo here. This little thing is a browser icon. So whenever I share my website with anything, this icon will show up in the browser. You can also create a logo for free through Squarespace. So you just click create a new logo, and there's all kinds of logo tools there.
Oh, cool.
And it's so cool, and it's free if you're using Squarespace. Not only that, but the thing about domains. So you can actually choose domains through Squarespace as well. If you already bought it, you can transfer it in, but they give you all these different options. You can get a domain through Squarespace. They'll list all the different domains that are available, and sometimes they're absolutely free when you sign up for Squarespace. So if you don't know what your domain is, you can just click on get a domain in the settings on the main page and just try stuff out, and it'll just give you all different types of options. And sometimes you'll be like, oh my God, that's it. Because it'll give you, like when I saw lunation.live, that was like, oh, I like that better than .com, than .net. I like that better than anything. And so that's another, and that's free. If you want to transfer it in, you can transfer it in through there too. But it has all of these different things, and it's so user-friendly. Like this, the main point I wanted to get across is to ask yourself those questions about your business before you get started building your site. Ask yourself the questions so that you have content. You get in there and you have something that you actually already care about that you want to put into the thing. And that's going to give you the momentum to get through the minor learning curves of Squarespace. Squarespace it's not complicated. Just click around and try things out. You can't mess anything up. And if you do mess something up, just don't save it and it'll go back. The way that I learned is I just clicked on everything. But the main thing is, if you have a desire to do it because you asked the questions, you built enough passion, you will do it. You will follow through and you will find the way to do it. And you can watch YouTube videos on how to do the technical stuff in Squarespace. There's a million YouTube videos on the technical stuff. The reason why I wanted to teach this class was to reach the people who are like, just like you and Anita, and I don't know exactly about Irma's place, but I want to do it, but I don't really have the passion. I'm a little like, I don't know if it's going to be too complicated. Anita, there were e-commerce. I wish that I sold something on Squarespace, because the actual shop storefronts and the interfaces through the shop, they're so beautiful. I imagine a crystal shop through Squarespace being so exquisitely beautiful because of the way they've got their e-commerce layout set up. Like I would love to buy something on a Squarespace e-commerce site. And they make it so that you choose the different way that you want to receive your money, and the client clicks and pays and the money goes into your account. Like you just get it. And then there's an email sent to you with the address that you send the thing to, and it's done. Like the hardest part is just deciding that you're going to do it, getting the pictures uploaded and connecting it together. So that's why I want to teach this class. I wanted to give you the questions that would motivate you to actually follow through. And it's really beneficial to be interviewed. So you can go back to those questions and write them down. Ask someone to interview you, or you can ask me to interview you. I made some calls available. this week, and the email you got for registration has a click or a link to schedule that appointment with me, where we can talk like about where you're at and just discern what you need to take it to the next level.
Mm-hmm.
And as far as the technical stuff, we could go over that stuff forever on all the nitty gritty, but there's many YouTube videos dedicated to that.
Yeah.
And they probably do it way better than me. And you could search exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah, but I like the questions you asked. I mean, I've helped some people do websites that I've never actually built them myself. And I think that it's important to really ask those questions, because you know when a website is authentic, you know when it has good content, and so many of them don't. And I think also what's valuable to you, you know, like, for example, I've worked with people who don't want an About Us page. Like, for some reason, there's a fear of them being out on the internet. And like, I find About Us pages, like if I go to a website and I can't learn about who owns that product or who I'm working with, I'm out of there. But that's valuable to me, you know? And so that's really important that I have that on my website. So,
Yeah.
that, you know, asking, I think that was a really, really good list of questions you put together.
Yeah. And so the other good thing is having someone interview you and recording it, you're going to write your copy from that recording. Right? We think copy is, oh, this is easy, I just write down. As soon as you start to write about what you actually do, because most of us we freeze when we're thinking about ourselves and what we do. We freeze. It's so valuable to have someone ask us and then record it, because when we're in that space of interviewing, we're speaking from our hearts and we're not writing it. The brain uses a totally different place to answer questions in an interview than it does to write from. And so get it out verbally and then try to write your copy. Because if you're just sitting in front of a blank website trying to fill up glorious ipsum unum with your verbiage, you're going to freeze.
Yeah.
And I've experienced it. Trust me, I've been through that hurdle.
Well, it's so interesting too, because I actually came into this call like knowing that I'm able of building my website, but like what a cool service for you to offer, because like I will probably definitely hire you for that, because that's really valuable to me, and I know myself well enough to know that I'll freeze in that area, or you know, I'll just be harder on myself, because I think no matter how much work we all do, or maybe I'm just speaking for myself, it's still difficult to have that self-reflection back and really authentically look from that perspective, and have somebody in front of you helping you with that, I think could be really, really valuable. And so that's it. And I think that the thing that scares me the most about building my website isn't the technical stuff. I'm really good at that piece.
Yeah.
It's creating the content about myself.
Yes. That's the reason why we don't do it.
Yeah.
And that's the people I've been making sites for, they're like, oh my God, I never even thought about these things. They didn't even know exactly who they were serving. They just knew what they were doing.
Right.
Like, I grow microgreens. Like, well, who do you grow them for? Who's buying them? Why would they buy them? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So once we got clear on that, it was like an entire business model arrived. An entire business plan, a marketing plan, everything. They knew exactly who they were selling their microgreens to.
Yeah.
And why they were different from other people, and how to position themselves in the market. Like, these are the important questions to ask. And when we don't ask them, then we think that the reason we failed is because we didn't get a website built. But that's not really the reason. It's because we're not really super clear on who the end target is and how that experience will be for them and what problems it'll solve for them. So this has been about an hour. I feel like we covered a lot. I hope it was really valuable, and I hope everyone that's watching the replay received a lot of value from it as well. Yes, please schedule a call with me this week. We'll talk about where you're at and what it looks like moving forward, and how I can assist you with that. And I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of beautiful websites blooming from Squarespace, and of course, I would love to help you. So thank you, Lisa, and thank you, Anita and Irma. I'll be sending out the recording probably tomorrow, because I have the rest of my days like blah, 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 blah. And so you'll be getting this replay tomorrow. Okay.
Thank you, Christina.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.